Where grass becomes salt. In ancient times, salt was not something you could simply buy at a store. For those living deep in the mountains, far from the sea, it was a precious source of life. They had discovered a way to draw sodium, the basis of salt, from the ashes of burned grasses and trees. It was knowledge born from deep observation of nature and from countless cycles of trial and error, a wisdom shaped by the land. Among the most vital elements in this process was the presence of hard water, spring water rich in minerals. Mountain dwellers instinctively knew where such water flowed. They would find small springs where water trickled gently from the earth, and around these places thick grasses grew. In the summer, they would cut great bundles of these grasses and dry them completely. Then, they soaked them in the mineral-rich spring water. Once the grasses had absorbed the moisture, they were dried again. This process, soaking and drying, was repeated many times. You see, mountain spring water has only about 1/70th the salt content of seawater, but if the cycle of soaking and drying is repeated 70 times, the concentration builds. Eventually, the grasses themselves hold the essence of the sea. After the final drying, these grasses were burned in open air like a controlled field fire. What remained was ash, seemingly lifeless, but holding within it the trace elements of salt. These ashes were placed into wooden buckets or troughs, and water was poured over them. As the water filtered through, a liquid rich in sodium slowly seeped out. This was called aku, a dark, cloudy lye. The aku was filtered and boiled down. What resulted was not white salt, as we know it, but something darker, rougher, liquid or crystalline, depending on the method. A humble offering of flavor, nonetheless. This grass salt carried a powerful tang, rich in sodium and potassium. It was more than seasoning, it was preservation, medicine, and survival. To those living among the peaks, even this small amount of salt was invaluable. It meant they could ferment foods, preserve meat and fish, treat wounds, and sustain life. In it, they may have even sensed the spirit of the ocean. But this was more than a clever technique. It was culture, passed down from hand to hand. Each village had its own grasses, its own fire methods, its own way of watching the water. The grasses used varied by region, but always grew near the hard water springs. They were not random weeds, but plants the land had offered, each holding its own subtle quality. All of this, the watching, the gathering, the burning, the boiling, required patience. It could not be rushed. It was a practice of rhythm, season, and sensitivity. Today, salt waits for us on supermarket shelves. But in those grasses once soaked and dried, in those ashes once stirred by careful hands, there is a reminder of something else, a quiet bridge between mountain and sea, a small crystal of wisdom drawn from the heart of the land.